Hello and welcome to the lab today. Today I'm going to be showing you the process of streaking some new plates with the E. coli bacteria that we use, also known as OP50, here in the lab. Right now you can see that I'm walking down a long hallway to our negative 80 degrees Celsius freezer where we keep our OP50 stock at. I'm going to be grabbing some out of the freezer and putting it onto a plate so that it can defrost so I can streak the other plates. So I'm going to show you the whole process of how to make our liquid media, what I have to do to prep it. I'm also going to be seeding some plates later on in the video and showing you how I store it. So right here in that box is our OP50 stock. So I'm pulling it out. This is a quick process because it starts to defrost very, very fast. And also I realized that it is kind of hard to try to put it onto a plate while also recording with one hand. So it will be pulled out of frame, but I'm basically using some sterilized tips that we use for our micropipetters. And since they're sterilized, I can put it into our stock and grab it without worrying about contamination. Right here is where I'm trying to record and pull it out at the same time. But I am trying to show you at least that kind of what I'm doing here. So after I grab it, it ends up on the pipette tip. And then I have to take the top off of our plate. And then I basically just wipe it on there just so it gets on there. And then it has a little bit of time to melt as I walk back across the hallway back to my setup. So as I'm walking, okay, I'm back to the setup. So as you can see, this is the plate that has the OP50. I'm trying to show you that it did melt a little. And then these three plates are what I'm going to be streaking on. Everyone kind of streaks a little bit differently. I haven't done it too often, so I'm still pretty new at it. But I'm basically just going to use another sterile pipette tip to streak across. Here you can see that I'm labeling the plates because labeling the plates are important so people know what's growing on it. I just wrote OP50 across the top of all three because everyone in the lab knows that OP50 is E. coli. So I'm grabbing the sterile pipette tip, and then I'm basically going to just pick up a little bit of the now melted stock of OP50, trying to show that I'm just grabbing a little bit of it. And then I'll go ahead and just streak it across the plate. I kind of do it in sections, so I do like half, and then I rotate and do another half, and then I rotate just until I kind of run out of room. And so these lines are where the colonies will grow across. And the reason why I'm streaking 3 here is because I need on one of these plates to have a single colony just of its own, all from the same cell. And the best way to do that is, do multiple plates just so you have the highest chance of getting a single colony, because when we want to do the liquid media, it's best to have the liquid media all from the same cell. And the reason I'm doing this today is because the old stock that I have from about 2 months ago seems to be causing issues when we try to seed plates. So it's just time to make a new stock. Maybe there was some contamination when I made it before. Who can really tell? So we're just making a new one, trying to be extra careful this time. And as you can see, I am now seeding this last plate here. And these will take 10 depending on the temperature, and since it's summer, they tend to grow pretty fast because it tends to be warm. Plus, at the time of this recording, the AC was out, so the rooms were also extra warm. But this took about 2 days of growing before I had a big enough colony that I could use. Right there in our biohazard bin, I was just throwing away the stuff I didn't need, like that plate of our stock. And now that I'm not reopening the plates, I don't need my gloves on, and I'm just putting them back. This is where I always store my plates while I wait for them to grow. It's a good temperature. It's right in front of my sitting area. Here is the very next day. As you can see, there are little dots from where I streak them, but not quite where we need them to be. And here is the day after that. You can see all the little dots a lot more clearly. And here in a second, you'll see that I put them under the microscope so that you can see them. And this is where I found out that trying to record through the microscope lens with one single hand is astronomically difficult. So you'll see it flash on and off the screen, but this was about the best that I could do without having some contraption to hold it up. So basically here, I'm just looking for a colony by itself that is far enough away from the other ones that I can mark with a marker and be like, this is a good one to grab. Now, only 2 out of the 3 plates had single colonies that were far enough away from the rest that were good enough, in my opinion, to grab. And this was one of them. And this is why we make multiple plates, because only 2 of the 3 had single colonies. And sometimes you can get no colonies as well. Like it's happened to me before, where I get the stock, I seed plates, and there are no single ones. It's just a whole bunch of merged together. So then I'll have to streak them again and try to grow them again. So now that I marked that, we are moving on to the next step of making the liquid media. So the first thing we're doing here is we're getting our weigh boat, and we're gonna grab our LB broth, and we're gonna have to weigh out 12.5 grams because we're making 500 milliliters. And normally for 1,000 milliliters is 25 grams, so we cut that in half for about 12.5 grams. Okay, now that we have that 12.5 grams weighed out, we can take the weigh boat and set it aside until we need it. And after we take it aside, we're going to give the scale a good clean, as you should every time after using it for any reason. Because even sometimes the tiniest particles can come out. And you always want to make sure it's as clean as possible for the next person. Okay, now we're ready to move on to prepping the liquid media. We grab a 1,000 milliliter flask. We take the foil off. This was pre-sterilized, so I already know that there are, there should be nothing inside of it because it already went into the autoclave. We're going to add a sterilized stir stick because we're going to need to mix that powder in with some water. So we go ahead and grab one and we rip it open from the foil. As you can see, I'm wearing gloves, trying to keep everything as sterile as possible. And you want to make sure you tilt the Erlenmeyer flask, because if you just drop it straight in, you could risk, breaking the flask, and that's not good. So we're adding in our LB powder. And as you can see, it is pretty dusty. So what I try to do with the water is make sure it hits the edge of the flask so it gets as much as that powder that I pulled in. As you can see, I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to pour the water across, try to get every single, dust particle that I can. And at the end of this little section, you'll see that I take a paper towel. I also spilled some water here, which isn't a big deal. I'm just grab a paper towel and, wipe it down. Sometimes mess happen. Good thing it's just water and nothing, worse. And then after I wipe this down, I will grab a little bit more water to compensate for what didn't make it in, basically. But then I'll take a paper towel and I'll wipe the lip of the flask, because if I leave it there, that powder will harden while it's in the autoclave, and it just becomes more difficult to clean later on. So I stepped away to grab some more water, and we're going to top it off with just a little bit. It's probably a little bit more than what I missed, but slightly more water is not going to hurt it. So now we turn it on because we got to give it a good mix, and this will take, just like a minute or two to mix. And then once we're done with that, we can move on to the autoclave step. And now it looks like it's pretty all good and mixed. So I'm going to throw some tinfoil over top of it. I'm not going to put it on super tight because we're about to autoclave it. And if I put it on super tight, it'll create a lot of pressure and end up spraying that broth everywhere inside the autoclave. So I always make sure there's a little lip where air can escape. And then we add our handy dandy autoclave tape it down and secure it. It'll also tell us that it actually did get sterilized while it was in there and reached the temperature that it needed to sterilize it. So we're adding it to the cart and off to the autoclave we go. Someone did leave the autoclave open overnight, so it was cool enough to touch without the gloves. I also, as you'll see here in a second, had an issue getting it to start, and I'm pretty sure that's why someone left it open overnight. But it didn't take me too long to figure it out. I have fixed this autoclave, the door issue that it tends to have, quite a few times. And then we'll clip over to when I get everything to work, because here I realize there's an issue. And here we go. And then we want to, select the right thing. It's already set at liquid 20 from the last person who used it, but I always like to double check because if you accidentally put something liquid in on a dry cycle, it will explode everywhere, and that's no good. As you can see here, there's a 20-minute exposure time at the top that I want to point to, and a 121.1 degrees Celsius is the exposure temperature that it needs to be at to make sure everything gets killed properly. And then since it was open overnight, the waiting for jacket is basically waiting for it to get up to temperature. So it'll take a minute, but it will pop on in say 60 minutes. But we're gonna clip to when it is done. Here we go, 0 again, and we are gonna open the door, and you can see that I'm pulling the cart out, and it'll take just a minute for that door to pop right open, and you'll be able to see our flask in there. It looks pretty much the same, but when I pull it out, you can see that the autoclave tape now has the black lines on it instead of the greenish, so you know that it's been sterilized. And the water in the tray is not a big deal. You know, it happens whenever you autoclave something. And here we go. Now I have to let it cool down to temperature. So I let it cool down to about 55 degrees Celsius, just enough so that when I add the bacteria to it, it doesn't automatically kill it. So here I'm throwing on gloves. I have my Bunsen burner going. Basically, we're going to take one of the two plates, whichever one I decide is the easier one to grab. For the single colony, I have a little metal stick that I will grab. It's a little loop. I will sterilize it in the flame, and then after I grab the colony off the plate, I will put it into our liquid media. So here's the sterilizing of our little metal thing. I don't know what it's called. I just call it our metal loop. And then after I get it good and sterilized over the flame, you can see that I'm looking at both of the plates, deciding which one would be easier to grab. And it looks like I'm choosing that one. You can see the blue dot. And after it's nice and hot, we'll go ahead and, apparently I did not show it well enough in the clip, but I am grabbing it off of the plate. I think I do remember that I will kind of hold up the loop to the camera to show you. You can see that little white speck on it. And it goes right into the media. I swirl it around to make sure that it comes off. And then since I did put it in bacteria, I have to re-sterilize it under the flame so that it kills any leftover bacteria on it. And since I used both of these plates, they will just end up in the biohazard bin because I won't need them anymore. So now I recap it and seal it because it'll need to go into our shaker machine. Right here you can see that I am disposing of those two plates that I no longer need. So right in there. Moving the chair out of the way so I can show you that it's a biohazard bin. And here's our liquid media. Nothing too crazy happening to it right now, but back down the hallway again, not as far this time, is our shaker. It is set to 37 degrees Celsius, and it has a shake plate to where for the next 24 hours it will kind of, shake it, and this will basically make the solution really cloudy with cells, as you'll see after we come back. It did take me a minute to get it turned on because someone, for whatever reason, unplugged the machine. So after I clicked that flask into place, I go to turn it on, and then I realized that for whatever reason someone unplugged it, and I had to plug it back in. And as soon as I plug it back in, it starts going, so we're going to clip over to that. There we go. And as you can see, it swirls our media around, and this is where it will sit for the next day. Literally 24 hours, we'll come back and pull it out, and you'll see that it's a little bit darker in color and a lot more cloudy. And as I said before, the cloudiness is due from all of the bacterial cells that are now floating around. So here we go, the very next morning, actually the same morning that I am doing this voiceover, you can now see that the machine did turn off, and I can go ahead and grab it right out. Readjust my hand, and as you can see, it is now cloudy. Definitely not as clear as it was before, but that is a-okay. The next steps, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to fast forward it, but I am going to add some music and just let you watch. We're going to re-bottle it up. We're going to seed some plates, and we're going to saran wrap them. This is our old stock. As you can see, it's from June 29th, and today is August 20th. So for whatever reason, this stock is not good, and we do have to dispose of it. But here we go. I'm just going to let you guys watch. Like I said, I'm going to, make new bottles, seed some plates, and then show you saran wrapping it. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, well, that was the process of me making some liquid media and, seeding the plates I needed to, rebottling some, and I hope you guys enjoyed the voiceover. First time trying that, and I'll catch you in the next one.